Hello, everybody, and welcome to English Grammar with Amer sir. And today we are going to look at the textual exercises based on the Unit 4.6. We just finished the Unit 4.6 the last time, and it is now time for us to look at the textual exercises. I won't do all the exercises, but 90% of them will be covered. Now, this will also be interesting not just for the students of 10th standard, but overall those who seek improvement in English. Because these exercises, well, some of them are purely based on the lesson. So I recommend you watch the lectures for 4.6, for the unit 4.6. But even if you don't, well, there are majority of them are just general exercises, so everybody who wants to learn good English can definitely go ahead and enjoy these exercises. Let's get started, and this is what we are going to study: the textual exercises for unit 4.6, the gift of the Magi. Now, I have no doubt, guys, that you know that it's not Maggie, it's Magi. Done that in the previous lectures. Let's get started with the first question. I'll have to, I guess, let me just adjust my webcam settings. I guess I should rather position myself here. That's better now. Yeah. Okay, so I've now shifted myself onto the left hand corner. That's the first question, guys. The moment you hear the word gift, what feelings do you experience? Complete the web with those feelings. Now they want you to write down the feelings just in one word. They just want you to write down the feelings. Now for this slide, I don't think I should give you a separate time limit for that. I'm going to discuss each and every point in detail, reasonable detail. So let's start with the first one. It's curiosity. Now, I don't know about you, but when it comes to gifts, I have a peculiar weakness of impatience. If you really want to irritate me, the best thing you can say is, "Hey, Ameya, we've got something for you, but we will give it to you tomorrow." I will die of that impatience. Just tell me now. I don't care if you have nothing. Tell me it's a prank. Clarify. But then say something right now. So when it comes to gift, I clearly remember as a child, whenever there was birthday celebrations, impatience is the thing. So when it comes to gift, what I have highlighted definitely here is curiosity. You are very curious about what the gift is going to be. The next one is delight. So you are obviously very happy. You're delighted that you're going to get a gift because that shows the love and care. Then you are excited, it shows excitement. Then you are grateful as well. You're thankful to the people who give you gifts. And by the way, that's always a reminder of what we've discussed in the previous lectures, that it's the thought that counts. So you are always full of gratefulness. You're always happy. You're thankful to people who give you gifts. Wonderful. You should be. It doesn't matter how costly the gift is. It's the thought that counts. So someone wants to give you something, but that feeling itself should make you happy. So yes, there is this element of gratefulness there. What's next? Then you have appreciation. Whenever someone gifts you something, you appreciate. You show your appreciation for the person. Okay. And last but not the least is joy. It's joyful. There's cheerfulness all over. You're joyous. So those are the things you can write as answers to complete this web chart. By the way, this web chart in the board is a question for 2 marks. They'll give you such a web chart and they'll ask you to complete it. So I have just provided you with a sample answer. If there are other emotions that you can write, go ahead and write those. I've just provided you with a sample answer. I never insist that the answer that I have provided is the answer that you must write. There is no such compulsion. You're free to write down your own answer. Just provided you with some sample. Next one, please. Now, gifts, look at this question. Gifts need not be material gifts. They can be abstract and yet priceless. Let me explain this. Gifts need not be material gifts. Guys, what do you mean by this? Gifts might not be material gifts. What it means is uh, a toy or a cricket bat or a new dress or a new shirt. Those are material things. Those only don't make up all the gifts that you can possibly receive. There are abstract gifts. Now, abstract gifts are those that cannot be touched. They can only be felt. Okay, abstract qualities like kindness. Now, can you touch kindness? Can you say, hey, this is kindness? Can you do that? No. So that's an abstract feeling. So the lesson here is telling us that gifts are not always material. They can be abstract yet priceless. For example, favors, kindness, help in times of need, etc. Think of and enlist such unforgettable gifts given to you by, and then there are agents. So parents, then they want us to talk about siblings, that's your brothers, sisters, relatives, then your friends, and then even strangers. Guys, you must believe that even strangers do provide help. So they want us to enlist such unforgettable gifts to you. Now, your answer definitely should be different to my answer because each of us has got our own experiences. I am again going to give you a sample answer based on my life. You can definitely change it according to what you think and what you have received, what you think you have received. Let's talk about the parents and grandparents first. I am going to talk about the very first factor, which is life. Well, guys, shouldn't you be thanking your parents for the life they gave you? I mean, they brought you in this world. So the one thing that they gave you is your life. So that's one thing that you should be thanking them for. Always count on your blessings. And I remember a very famous line by Bill Gates, because now here some students might grumble, sir, some people are born in a rich family, some people are born in a poor family. Should they still be thanking their parents for the life? Oh, hell yes. The thing is, if you are born poor, that's why I was talking about Bill Gates. He has this famous line. Okay, he said, if you are born poor, listen to me very carefully. If you are born poor, it's not your fault. But if you die poor, it's your fault. And it's only your fault. I'll add that. It's only your fault. So then count on your blessings. They brought you in this world. They'll do everything that is in their capacity. You must be thankful for that. And never grumble about situations. They actually, if I'm not wrong, the parents will always try to give you the things they never had. Okay? They try to give you more than that. Definitely within their whatever falls within their capacity, but be thankful for the life your parents gave you. Okay, so I am going to say that life is the first point I want to thank my parents for. The next point I mentioned is values. So they have taught me all the values, like speaking the truth, being an honest person, judging someone on the basis of what they can offer to the society at large, not exactly how full their pocket is. They have taught me how to follow your commitments, how to respect your nation. Those are the kind of values. Those are the kind of value systems your parents definitely have given you. Be thankful for that. My next point is principles. Again, it's very important principle. Like, you don't want to cheat anybody. You don't want to indulge in illegal activities to earn money. Do you really feel that if you earn a lot of money by hook or by crook, and your parents will appreciate that? But I don't think so. I don't think so. So much so that if there is, let's say, there's some gangster or a criminal, even he or she would not want his son to continue the tradition. Definitely not. So very important that you thank your parents for the life they gave you, for the values they instilled in you, for the principles that they live by and they have taught you. And now you have imbibed those good qualities. Be thankful for all of that. That's why I said that these are abstract things. Like, for example, honesty. You cannot say, hey, this is my honesty. You cannot touch that, right? So that's abstract. Now the next point they want to talk about. By the way, there's another interesting thing I'll highlight about parents. I was, in a way, some students ask me this question a lot. I have every year there is a fair percentage of students who ask me this question because I am the only child of my parents. So the point is, the students ask me, sir, don't you miss having a sibling? The thing is, you have it both ways. Every coin has two sides. So when you look at other families and then they have a brother or a sister, yeah, kind of miss them. Sometimes you feel it's better to have a brother or sister, but then life is good the way it is meant to be. I got my the undivided attention from the parents, so that's another thing that I would appreciate. I was always, whatever was belonged to me. There are always two sides to the coin. So yes, there are times when I miss having a sibling, but then I don't regret being the only child of my parents. I got the complete attention, so it's a win-win situation. Hope that answers query of most of the students. That's it. Next one, siblings and relatives. Should you be thanking them? Yes, I'm going to cover these points. By the way, I have given you only the points here. You better write it in your own sentences. That's why I'm expatiating. I'm explaining in detail so that you get your sentences. Why should you be talking about siblings? And by siblings, again, I will say that if I am talking, I can talk about cousins here. So that way, siblings and even your relatives. So points that I have mentioned here are as follows. Support. Yes, they support you. They're sharing. They do share their experiences with you, their belongings with you. Motivation, I think, is the most important factor here. When you are a kid, your family, your relatives would know first about your qualities, and they are the people who actually encourage you that okay, this is what you can do. Go ahead, we are with you. I think you have a merit here. So I think you should appreciate the motivation. Again, abstract. Remember, you cannot say this is motivation. The lesson is asking us about the abstract things. So the relatives would motivate you. They would probably tell you where you are good. At the same time, they'll tell you about your shortcomings. You should take it positively. You should be thankful for their support in general. So those are the points that I have covered. You can write down something else if you have in mind. Friends, okay, so you can say that they have helped me in studies. You can easily say that. I have no doubt that when you are absent, you asked for notes from your friends. They helped you. If there is some concept that you had not understood, your friend must have approached, and he or she must have clarified your doubts. Then you can say that they showed care. Imagine at school you're playing in the recess and then you fell, you got hurt. They were the one to bring that first aid box for you, care for you, show support. Nice, right? I'm sure. So those are the things. Also, I have written sharing notes, and I mean sharing notes. I'm not talking about the friends who help you during exams. As a teacher, I want to specify this. That's not help. Don't say that, oh, I have a friend. He always helps me during exams. He's not your friend. He's ruining your life. Quit that friendship. I am talking about sharing notes before the exam. Whatever help your friend gives you is nice. Helping during the exam, that's copying, that's cheating. That's not friendship. But you can write those points. If you want to write anything else, you're free to do that. Now, strangers, look at the examples. Offered water. Well, this is a very common experience here in India, that if someone asks us for water, we won't say no, even to a stranger. That's the beauty of our culture. It's always there. The answer is yes. So you can say that I was at a certain place and it was a new place or a new area for me. I hardly knew anybody there, and I was completely parched. I asked for a glass of water, and hey, I was with great hospitality, I was offered a glass of water. So that's nice. What else can you thank the strangers for? Mobile during emergencies. And this is a personal thing. Once what happened was I lost my cell phone, and I of course, now the first thing you do is try to call up your own number. So it's not that you carry a spare cell phone, do you? You don't carry a spare cell phone. So I actually lost it, and I asked a fellow passenger. It was on a local train in Mumbai. So I asked for the cell phone. Can I make a call? And he was very supportive. There was no relation. He was not obligated to help me, but I received the help. So yes, strangers also help you. And you would probably think, hey, did I know this dude before? Because that clearly can feel that sympathy, can feel that helping nature, can feel that human nature, human being and being human, different things. You can add that. You can add your own experience as well. The last thing is help with the address. So maybe you were at a new locality, you did not know a particular address, you asked somebody, so could you help me with this address? And then the person helped you reach your destination. That's help. That's help. Stranger, what did he have to do, or what did she have to do? But there was help. So all of these things, kind nature is help. I've made a note of these things. I repeat, if you have something else, go ahead and write it. Do not write it as points, guys. Make your own sentences. I'm just going to give you a minute to copy this, okay? Just a minute. Your time starts now. Okay, under 10 seconds now. All right, your time is up, and I'm sure you made a note of everything. Also, I'm sure you made a note of siblings as well. Siblings are your brothers and sisters. How do you use them in a sentence? Well, you can ask someone, how many siblings are you? How many siblings are you? So, how many brothers and sisters are you? Okay, how many siblings are you? Or how many siblings do you have? Both are correct. Let's go on to the next one, guys. What is the next exercise? Well, this is something related to the lesson. So if you have listened to my lectures for part 1 and part 2, you'll answer this correctly. Map the problems, the gift of the Magi on the basis of the diagrams. There are two problems. And what is the problem? Della doesn't have enough money to buy Jim a present. So what's her solution? Jim doesn't have enough money to buy a Christmas gift for Della. What's his solution? And then what's their new problem as a result? And finally, what is the solution to their problem? I don't think I should give you extra time for this. So let's discuss the answer. Well, Della's solution is that she decided to sell her hair for $20 to get money. In case of Jim, his solution is he sold his gold watch to get enough money to buy a gift for Della. Guys, if you remember, it was such a sweet gesture, right? I told you they're so lucky to find each other. The only thing that they had, they're valuable, the most, not the most, the only valuable possession that they had, and they selflessly sacrificed that for the partner. It's amazing. So that is the solution for Della and Jim. What's next? What is their new problem as a result? Well, their new problem is Della got combs she wanted. She had yearned for those, but she has no hair because she sold them. And Jim got a lovely fob chain, but doesn't have his watch because he sold his watch to get the combs. That's the problem. What's their new solution? They kept their gifts away so that they could be used later when Della's hair regrows and Jim buys the watch. So up until that point of time, they thought that this was pretty useless. They just should keep their gifts aside, and they did that. So they decided that their gifts are too nice to be used just at the present moment. They kept their gifts aside to be used later. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to jot down the answers, and I will join you at the other side of this minute. Should a minute be okay for this? Yes, a minute should be fine. Start jotting it down. Your time starts now. Okay, now last 5 seconds. And your time is up. Guys, before we proceed to the next slide, I want to get you excited about what's going to be recorded on Monday. I have decided that it has been a long while since I recorded a story. In fact, I had this session conducted on WhatsApp for my students, but now I think I'll record a story here. You can take it in a multiple ways. First, you can take it as a comprehension. Secondly, you can take it as a listening exercise. The last thing is you can take it as an exercise for improving your spoken English. So here is what I am going to do on Monday. This is quite exciting. I am excited already. I'm going to record a story, and that is I'm going to tell you a story, and then later I'm going to ask you questions pertaining to that story. It will be a very interesting story. Let me give out the topic. It's going to be about Vikram Vetal story, one of my favorite characters. I remember my grandmother, she used to tell me those stories, so I'm going to share with you one of those stories. Now, the benefit of listening to that story is going to be that you will improve your English comprehension. You will improve your English reading skills, because I will have the story written on the screen and I will have it read out to you. It is going to be an awesome session, amazing thing. So look forward to that, and hopefully you will also like the effort. That's going to be my recording a couple of days after this. So that's Monday, today being Saturday. And let us now proceed to the next slide. We studied this. Now this is number 4, question number 4 in the textbook. Read the following and answer. Say what. So I have filled the answers to the question what in the blank. Okay. I repeat, what I have done is that I have filled the answer here to the question what. That's what I have done. I have just written the answers to the question what here. I'm not going to give you extra time for this. I'm just going to quickly share this with you immediately. So Dash troubled Della on Christmas Eve. The answer is lack of money. Now the Guju students, be very careful. It is lack of money. It is not lake of money. There's difference. It's not lake of money. Lack of money. The pronunciation can be very embarrassing. It's not a lake of money. It's lack of money. All right, so lack of money it is. And what's the next one? Dash was the current family income, $20. You write it as $20, but you read it as $20. Next, Dash could have outshone Queen of Sheba's jewels, Della's hair. Remember, the writer calls it the brown cascade. What a brilliant description that was. Dash was the cost of the fob chain, $21, and Dash sent Jim into a trance. Della's haircut. Remember the mixed emotions. Never had Della seen those expressions on Jim's face. Guys, I think you can pause the video for this because there is nothing much to jot down. So I don't think a dedicated minute is required for this. So you can pause the video now if you wish to record all the answers. Allow me to go to the next slide immediately, please. Now this one is interesting. Use the chart below to explain the situational irony in The Gift of the Magi. For each character, identify what is expected to happen and what actually happens. So the situational irony is what Della plans to do and what actually happens, and what Jim plans to do and what actually happens. Now it's amazing how the board has not given the colons here. I will do that, okay? So this is interesting, and for this one I will give you a minute, but let me discuss the answer. So you all know that what Della plans is, Della plans to buy a beautiful fob chain for Jim's gold watch. She plans to raise the money by selling her hair. Guys, remember the pronunciations are so important. I will have a separate lecture recorded on this. Sell and sale, different, very different. So she did not plan on selling her hair, selling her hair, very important. So she planned to do that. What actually happened was all her efforts go in vain as Jim sells his gold watch to buy a lovely gift for her. So she definitely has the fob chain for Jim, but Jim doesn't have the watch anymore. What happens in Jim's case is Jim wants to surprise Della with beautiful tortoise shell combs. He sold his watch for the purpose, for the same. Now, what actually happened is, or happens, is that his gift is rendered useless as Della sold her hair to raise money for Jim's gift. Guys, appreciate the language that you will use. His gift is rendered useless. Very important that you have the answer but to express it nicely in good words. I'm going to concede a minute for you starting now. Please jot down the answers. I'll be with you at the end of this minute. Under 10 seconds now. And your time is up. I'm sure you made a note of all the necessary things. Allow me to go ahead, please, now. Now, this is the activity where I am going to give you a couple of minutes. What you have is that you have this word list here, guys. All of these words, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4 in each column. No, this one has 3. So there are 11 words. They have given you the meaning and you're supposed to fill in or by choosing the correct word. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Use the words given and fill them up. Later, I will reveal the answers. Be honest about it, and your time is a couple of minutes for this one. So make sure you do it properly. Your time starts now. Okay, under 10 seconds now. I'm sure you're done with it already. Okay, your time is up, and so it is my turn to reveal the answers. Be very honest when you correct your answers. Don't just tell me that, sir, I got all right, all correct. Yes, if you genuinely got all right, yeah, fine, fantastic. Fine by me, but don't cheat. So, time for the answers. I think the first one is cascade, small waterfall. What a beautiful word you learned in this lesson. The next one is coveted or coveted. Then this one is predominating. and the next one is subside, and the final one is instigate. And they wanted us to find the word, which spells out something Della receives. So clearly what you have is COMBS. So you should have the word combs with you. Let me know in the comments if you got this 100% correct. And well, I have no doubt you got it right. Let us proceed to the next one. Now this one is interesting. Complete the following basic plot. Every story, guys, has a plot. So you can see here that there is opening exposition, where you had studied about their house, their economic condition, their monthly income, their description of their house, etc. Then there is struggle. Then there is some action taken to overcome the problem or to better the situation. That brings about an overall rising and an upgrade in the position. That's fantastic. And therefore now this is the peak of the story, and that is why they want us to write down what it is. And finally it comes in a downward spiral, and there is a resolution finally that the couple makes. So they want us to complete the basic plot. All you have to do is, just like the conflict and action and the rising, mention the words for the plot, and you have them as climax and anti-climax. So just make sure that you write them down. Guys, this is very important. This particular story had a climax and an anti-climax. I'm sure you remember that the climax was that they got the gifts. It's such an interesting thing, is it not? All they wanted was to gift each other. It was Christmas. They were extremely successful in doing that. That's the climax, the surprise gift. The anti-climax, however, is that their gifts were completely redundant because they didn't have the necessary tools to use them. So that is the anti-climax. So this story had a climax and this story had an anti-climax. I'm sure you appreciate this climax, and there is anti-climax. This should also help the students understand what is the difference between climax and an anti-climax. While studying the figures of speech, the students always wonder, what is anti-climax exactly? Well, what better example than this story? The climax is that height of extreme delight that they gifted each other something. The anti-climax is that what is the use? Oh, the word I used is redundant. I'm sure you like that. Okay, redundant. Type the word in the chat or in the comment below and mention the meaning. Well, the last time I was very happy. I asked you this word onus. There was this answer in the comment section. I was very happy. Yes, let's go to the next one then. There's nothing more to write, just the two words. So you can pause the video. Allow me to continue, please. This one is where you have to, well, they have used the word consumer because they are going to consume these blank spaces. The entry is whether it is a noun, verb, or an adjective. That's what we have to specify. Okay. So reluctance to spend money. The word in the textbook for that is parsimony, and it's a noun. Well, I have written it outside the bracket because the bracket was very small to accommodate the letter. So parsimony is noun, that's the word. The next one is relating to. The word for that in the textbook is appertaining, and it's a verb. Urge is to coax, and that's a verb. Reduce in value is depreciate. Anybody who studied economics will know the gradual wear and tear of the assets is depreciation. That's a verb. Depreciate is the verb. Wisdom is prudence. That's a noun form. Adjective will be prudent. Very huge is mammoth, word from the lesson. Mammoth being a quality is an adjective. And foolishness or stupidity, the word in the textbook was idiocy, and that's the noun form. Quickly jot this down. I will you should just pause the video. I'm not going to give you a minute for this. So pause the video now, and once you are ready you can resume the video. Allow me at the moment to go to the next one, please. This is the most interesting question that your textbook poses. Why I say this is because such questions will bring out the class that you have about your English language and how you use it. What they have done in this question, I'll take you there in a minute. What they have done is they have asked you, rather they have given you some situations, and then they have invited your reaction pattern to it, like what would you do, how would you feel, how would your friends react, and something like that. So this is not a close-ended question. These questions are going to be most of them, I feel every question is an open-ended questions, all of them. Whenever you want to make someone speak and try, you want to find out, you're trying to find out how good that fellow is in English, always ask open-ended questions. The person then cannot get away with close answers like yes or no. Like for example, if you want to test how good someone is in English, well, never ask the question, do you love your country? The person will say yes. And what did that yes tell you? Nothing. That's why you will notice that when you go for a job interview, they always will ask you open-ended questions. The logic of doing that, guys, is that they want to make you speak at length. So they will not ask you close-ended questions. They will never ask you love your country. You'll say yes, big deal. Y-E-S. Oh, that much of English? They will definitely ask you open-ended questions. So you want somebody to talk, you should ask them open-ended questions. Applies for friendship as well. If you want to open up to your new friend or make yourself familiar to somebody, open-ended questions help. For example, what are your hobbies? What do you do in your spare time? Those are open-ended questions. Imagine you ask somebody, hey, what are your hobbies? And the person says yes, yes, or no, no. Then you know that he's not comfortable or she's not comfortable with English. Those are the open-ended questions. Coming to the point, that's why I like this exercise a lot. This is my favorite question the textbook asks in this lesson. Let's go to it. There are situations. Let's see what's the first question. Guys, I want your undivided attention here now, because you have to write down the answers. I'm not going to write down the answers for you. I'm going to discuss them. You are going to write them down. What's the first situation? What would you do if you ran short of money to buy a birthday gift for one of your parents or siblings? What would you do? Guys, come on, what would you do? And again, I will say that your answer can be a little different than what I am saying. It is not quintessential that your answer has to be exactly identical to how I think. Hey, that's why it's language. There is a difference in what you think. There is a difference in how you will put the idea across. So, can be different, should be different. I will answer it from my context. If I was running short of money, well, what I would do is probably search for my piggy bank. I don't know about you, but as a child, I had this habit of saving money. It comes of great use during emergencies. So I would probably borrow from the piggy bank. If not, I would probably seek help of one of my relatives or one of my cousins, with the assurance that I will repay whenever I get my pocket money, or if I'm doing a part-time job, something like that. So you would definitely do that. That's your option one. Your option two is that you don't borrow money at all. You manage the gift within the budget that you have. That's a very interesting reply, because your parents will definitely love it. You should be open with them. You tell them that I had this in my mind, but I'm sorry, I only had this much and I could only manage this much. They'll be very happy. It's the thought that counts. Again, that line. So I've given you a couple of options. Either you borrow money from your cousin or from your relatives with the assurance that you give it back, of course, and it's not going to be huge. It's just some limited amount of money. But even better, you don't borrow anything. You manage within the budget that you have. Okay, next one. It's interesting, guys. Think of two alternatives. Guys, this is the one word I really want to talk about. It is not alternative. It is not alternative. The spelling is ALT. It is alternative. I'll say it again. aw sound, okay? Alternative. We do not have any other alternative, not alternative. It is not alternative. It is alternative. Even in the key on the computer keyboard, it's the alt button, is it not? Control Alt Del, right? It's alternative. Even the boys, when you buy your trousers, and if there needs to be any adjustment, you give it for alteration, not alteration. Many guys get this wrong. Okay, it's alteration. ALT, it's the same aw sound. Alteration. Remember. Anyway, let's get back to the question. Think of two alternatives that could have prevented Della as well as Jim from selling their most precious possessions. Well, what are the two alternatives? Again, I will say that my previous answer will be of great help here. Yes, we know that they were poor, but how about they had the habit of saving money? It's very important. Had they saved at least something, a modicum. What do you mean by modicum? A small amount. Last time also in the last lecture I used a word for small amount. I think it was iota. IOTA. I'm using the word modicum now. Had they done some savings, then they would have been, in a better position. Della wouldn't have to sell her hair. Jim wouldn't have to sell his gold watch. That was his ancestral property, is it not? So savings, moral of the story, do some savings. And by the way, the modern economics has changed. I would definitely, this is the right time to even impart some economics knowledge here. I'm going to take you to the notepad, I believe, for the first time today. Is it going to be for the first time that I'll take you to the notepad? Well, I guess yes. Let me take you to the notepad. Here we are. That's our first entry for today. The old thought, or the old school, let's put it that way. The old school was income minus expenses equaled savings. That's the old school, guys. The mid school, let's say, not the new school, the mid school was income minus savings equals expenses. Guys, I'm sure you're actually getting what I'm saying. And the new school, the latest one, says it is income minus investments equals your expenses. Savings alone is not enough. Guys, I have no doubt that you're loving this. Very, very important. You see how the time has changed? Initially, it was income. Whatever you have, you manage your expenses, and yes, you definitely, whatever is left, you save. The era in the 80s and 90s was when it changed to income minus savings equals expense. You manage your expenses after you do your savings. The modern contemporary mantra is, what did I just say? Contemporary. The contemporary mantra is income minus investments, not savings. Don't just keep the money in the bank. Investments equals savings. So that's how the times have changed. This whole point, I hope I could explain it to Della. But anyway, if they had, so my scenario is, don't write all of this in your answer. This was just for you. Your answer should be that had they done any savings at all, had they had this habit, then they would not have to sell their only valuable possession. Okay. And if I'm not wrong, they asked us for two alternatives. The second alternative is, again, going back to relatives. They could have borrowed money, but looks like, they had nobody. If you remember in the lesson, we talked about having a letter box, but there was never a letter written to them. You remember in the lesson? So I guess it's the fact that they have nobody. So that's the second alternative. Well, that could have happened had they had any relative. Okay, next one. Now let's go back to what we were studying. Question third. Justify the title of the story, The Gift of the Magi. Well, I have done that in the part 2. I think I've explained that in detail. You can definitely get your answer from there as to why they are the Magi. Done that, please. Question 4. Gifts, I'm talking about the part 2, guys, the conclusion, okay? For the fourth question, gifts that you buy have fixed prices or rates. How can the buyer increase the value of the gift bought for someone very dear in the family? Guys, this is such an important question. Let's assume that, well, I will talk about myself again. I'm saying your life is what you know best. Most of my students know that I play the synthesizer. Okay, so the keyboard, but not the computer keyboard, the musical instrument synthesizer. Back in my college days, I think I was in the second year, the synthesizer that I originally had really gone old. Okay, so it used to malfunction often. I was in need of a new synthesizer. And you can imagine I'm talking about me being in SY at that stage. I was just doing part-time tuitions, giving chess lessons, English lessons, music lessons. It was one of my acquaintances who actually helped me get the synthesizer. And believe me, the synthesizer had a market value. But at the stage where I needed it, the gift made, of course, the repayment was done. But at that stage, I paid back in installments, because at that stage, I remember I used to take music classes. I used to give lessons to kids because I used to teach them. I believe I was good at chords and especially use of my left hand. As a keyboard player, the left hand is important. So the time that it was given to me definitely had more value than just the MRP, the maximum retail price. That's what the question talks about. So you buy at a certain price from the market, but at that stage, the person who was in need of that commodity or that article or that object will value that so much more than just the market value or price of that object. Another example you can give probably is you had a friend who was really, he was not of the same economic standards as you, and you knew this very well, and there was something he needed. Let's say he wanted, he wanted to come for the picnic. Let's say there was a camp, okay, and you filled out his form and paid the fees as well, the picnic fees. Whatever the amount was, do you think your friend will only take that at the face value? No. For his life or for her life, he will remember what you did. So something like that should comprise your answer here. Well, a lot of philosophy today. But then that's language for you. So you can write your answer in that way. Yes, the things are bought from the market at a certain price, but definitely, give a good example, their value to the recipient is much more than just the MRP, the maximum retail price. The next one, please. Gifts that you buy. Oh, we discussed that. Sorry. Fifth one. What situation is the climax of the story? How does it end at anti-climax? Well, I've just discussed this in the previous slide where we discussed the climax and the anti-climax, guys. Next one, if you share this story with some friends in junior class, how would they react in the end? Well, I can definitely say that if you have got emotional friends who are very sensitive, they would almost cry when they would come to the climax or especially the anti-climax of the story. So you can write it that way, that most of my friends I know are very sensitive, and they actually have a very soft heart. They are good, extremely good at heart, so they will cry after they listen to the end of the story or something like that. Let me know how your friends are in the comments. Okay. Next one. Who were the very first people to give Christmas. Guys, you go to the conclusion of the lesson, you will understand this. Again, part 2. Okay, last one. At the end of the story, O. Henry remarks that of all, I think this is also covered, Della and Jim were the wisest. I have actually explained that also in detail. This is the conclusion of the part 2 lecture that I have delivered. Okay, please go ahead and watch that in detail. Allow me to go to the next slide, please. Pick out and write the exact sentence or sentences. In this case, a lot of questions which indirectly imply the following. So they have given the situations, guys, and they want us to write down the sentence from the lesson that actually depicts this situation. So Della was not too happy about bargaining for the grocery. Well, this is the line. The flat was in a dilapidated condition. This is the line. I'm going to just pull up the lines, guys, because these are lines from the textbook, and I'm going to give you a minute for this. Let's think about this. Should I give you a minute, guys? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, guys. I'm going to give you 2 minutes for this. Copy everything nicely. They are lines from the textbook. Okay, I'll be with you at the end of these 2 minutes. Under 10 seconds now. The time is up. Guys, these were just the lines from the textbook. That is why there was not much of any explanation required for this. Allow me to go to the next one, please. Frame WH type questions. Now let me first discuss what are WH type questions. WH type questions are the grammar questions where they'll give you a sentence and a fragment of it or a part of it will be underlined. You are required to frame a question in such a way that the underlined part becomes the answer. So let's go back to what our questions are. These are the questions. The first one is, life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles. So they have underlined sobs, sniffles, and smiles. So you can frame a question like, what is life made up of? And then you will have this one, and this one is your answer. Okay. Next one. Many a happy hour she had spent planning for something nice for him. Guys, be very careful. They have underlined the pronoun she. So we want to frame a question so that she becomes the answer. Question is, who had spent many a happy hour planning for something nice for him? The answer will be she. Next one. Her hair reached below her knee. Where had her hair reached? The answer will be below her knee. She was ransacking the stores for Jim's presents. The question will be, why was she ransacking the stores? The answer will be for Jim's presence. So I think you've understood the pattern, and I am now going to ask you for the penultimate and the ultimate question. We want the answer as at 7 o'clock. The line is at 7 o'clock, the coffee was made. So how can we frame such a question, guys? That 7 o'clock turns at 7 o'clock becomes the answer. When was the coffee made? Simple question. When was the coffee made? Your answer is at 7 o'clock. The last one, the Magi were wise men. Who were the Magi? Because wise men is underlined. So who were the Magi? The Magi were the wise men. So wise men would be the answer to this one. I'm going to give you a minute to copy this, and your minutes, let me just start with come down here. You're going to get a minute for this, and your time starts now. I'll be with you at the end of this minute. Under 10 seconds now. And your time is up. No doubt that you must have done what was required. Allow me to go to the next one. Add appropriate question tags. Guys, we have to be careful with the question tag, especially if it's the past tense and present tense, and the present tense with the verb when there is no auxiliary. So Della leaped up. The first example itself is like that. So you don't have is that you can change to isn't. You don't have was that you can change to wasn't. You don't have were that you can change to weren't. You just know that leaped is the past tense, and so Della leaped up, didn't she, will be the answer. You will have to look at the time. Wouldn't, guys, it be wise if I give you a couple of minutes for this, for the remainder? Okay, not a couple of minutes. I think 1 minute is fine for all. I'm going to give you a minute, guys. Your time starts now. Do the remaining as well. Your time starts. We will correct the answers at the end of this minute. Just go ahead and write the question tag. Should be doable in a minute. Go ahead, do it. Under 10 seconds now. And your time is up. Will you get 9 out of 9 in the remaining questions? Time to check. So these are the answers. And kindly let me know if you got all of them correct. Leave your comments. That's a very important thing, guys. Be honest and leave your answers in the comments. And well, now we will. Yes, now we are on the last slide for today. Supply short answers. They want us to write in the format pronoun plus the auxiliary verb. This is the last slide for today. Don't you like me? Yes, I do. Next one. Have you cut off your hair? Yes, I have. Shall I put the chops on? Yes, you should. Isn't it a dandy? Yes, it is. Does it make a difference? No, it doesn't. Will you buy my hair? No, I won't. Can you afford it? No, I can't. Are you fooling me? No, I am not. For the last one you can write no I aren't as well, because you know that aren't is the negative of am not. Okay, you can do that. You could pause the video, go back to the video. You can pause the video if you want the answers for that. We have approached an hour of our lecture, so it's time for us to bring this to a conclusion. Fantastic. It was pleasure bringing the textual exercises to you. There was a lot of philosophy there in today's answers. The lesson was also so cute. Look forward to meeting you again in a couple of days. I've already told you that I'll record a lecture. It will be story time. It will be a Vikram Vetal story in my next lecture, and I have no doubt that you're going to enjoy this. I will recollect my grandmother, and it will be a sort of a listening assignment for you, an audio exercise, comprehension, reading exercise. You can look at it from multiple dimensions. So just don't dismiss it as a story. Believe me, I'll have the story. You'll see the story on the screen, and I will also read out the story. It will be very nice experience. I promise you that. So we will meet again in a couple of days' time, and up until that time, please take care. In these COVID-19 times, do not venture outside. Stay home. Take good care. We will meet very soon. Okay.